Joining me now, Michael Steele. He's the former chairman of the Republican National Committee, the first black person to hold that position. But he has since left the Republican Party. He's also an MSNBC political analyst and the host of the Michael Steele podcast and the former lieutenant governor of Maryland. So this is a guy who's got a lot of experience with this kind of stuff. Michael, my friend, good to see you as always. Thanks for being with us.
Good to see you, Alex. And just by the way, I'm still in the party because it pisses them off. So
I'm good. Okay. I always wonder about that. I'm sorry about that. Well, that's no kind of my question, right? Because some of the people in the party did do the right thing. They did condemn it. They always condemn it. Mitch McConnell said something very interesting. He said there's no path to being elected president for somebody who holds those kind of views. Except he seemed to have missed the point that Donald Trump had those views, and he did actually get elected president once. So maybe he's saying there's no path again. I'm not sure I believe that.
Yeah, it's very hard to believe. And that's one of those typical Washington speak sort of denunciations where you say a lot. It's like a big word salad of platitudes. But at the end of the day, you don't say the thing that everyone's waiting for you to say. And that is Donald Trump has no place in the Republican Party. That those who support Donald Trump, a la Marjorie Taylor Greene and so forth, because remember, we've got plenty of photos of Marjorie hanging out with this racist Nazi, right?
Yeah.
We've got plenty of photos and video of others in the party espousing these very same points of view. So this is not something that is an aberration, something that the party just sort of stumbled into. It is something that not just party members, activists have brought in, but it's also that elected officials are actively perpetuating because they're going to these conferences. They're standing shoulder to shoulder with these individuals. They're elevating their narrative. And so it says a lot less about what Donald Trump means to all of this at this point, and a lot more about how much this infection has taken hold and how much harder it is for Republicans like myself to make the case that this is not the way to go, to encourage the leadership to stand with us, to denounce it, and to return us, as people say, I just want the old Republican Party back. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if it's the old Republican Party or some other form of it, but this is not it.
Yep.
And I think what the election showed this past fall, Ali, is that the American people don't think so either.
You know, back in 2012, when Mitt Romney lost the election to Barack Obama, the Republican Party undertook, I guess it was called a postmortem at the time, about the things that it could do differently. Yeah. And some of them it was a very thoughtful postmortem. Yeah. It was like, hey, if we do this kind of stuff, and some of it actually had to do with not alienating certain constituencies, including black people. And it was like, hey, if we did this instead of this, this might work, and we may broaden this tent. That's a thoughtful postmortem. There's no effort at that right now. The foam pillow man wants to be the head of the Republican Party. He wants to hold the position that you held. This is not going anywhere in the right direction.
So about that postmortem, $1 million thereabouts was spent to do all the things that you described it would do. Open up the eyes of the party to the reality that America is diversifying. I told you that. I was your chairman, so you can see the country's changing. Didn't need to spend $1 million to recognize that. But okay, you spent the money. But you know what they did with it? They let Donald Trump crap all over it. They let Donald Trump come down that escalator when he announced his presidency and call out Mexicans and demean and deride them and say to the nation, not only do we not like them or want them, we're going to build a wall to keep them out. Oh, but then I'm going to pivot to say that Muslims aren't welcomed either. So what was the point of this grand autopsy?
Yeah.
So flash forward, Chairman Rana is sitting there now talking about, oh, we want to have a review. A review of what? To do what? To spend money to get people in the room to talk amongst themselves, to put out a white paper saying you want to do all these grand and glorious things, when you won't tell Marjorie Taylor Greene to shut the hell up and get the hell out of the party, then don't give me your damn review, because you're not serious. You're letting the rot continue around you while you sit in huddled masses talking amongst yourselves about how much black men now are leaning towards the GOP. Like that's some kind of indicator that you've turned a corner. Mm-hmm. Talk to the black men after they go out there talking about Trump when they go home and what their women say to them. That conversation is real short. So the reality of it is you cannot sit back and see what they're doing face forward. There's all the window dressing, you know, wanting Americans to believe, oh, we're done with Trump. All these folks running out now to microphones go, oh, we're done with Trump. We're moving past Trump. It's time for us to move on. When Trump decides to really get into this race for the presidency, what the hell do you think is going to happen, Ali? Right. Where do you think those people are going to go? They're going to go right back to Trump. You know why? Because his base, their base, is still with him. Yep. And they haven't peeled off of him.
Michael, thanks as always for being with us this morning. Thanks as always when you sit in here when I'm not here. I feel like the show's better when you're at the helm.
It's an honor, dude. It's always a joy.
You and I are going to have a conversation.
For you.
You and I are talking in Philadelphia in a couple of weeks. We're going to have an in-person, nice, long conversation about the future of democracy in this country. I'm really looking forward to seeing you in person. Thanks, buddy.
Same here, my friend. Take
Michael
care.
Steele, former chairman of the Republican Party, former lieutenant governor of Maryland, MSNBC political analyst. I'm joined now by